brave and big. Man, let's go. A couple guys in gray shirts today. If you're not seeing it, just let us tell you about it. Man, we're just wearing these awesome gray t-shirts and we feel great. So be ready for that.
Looks great too. You look great in gray. Anybody ever told you that? Oh, thank you. Oh, come on.
Kind of you. A lot of kind words that lead right into, I'm just going to hype Joey up very intentionally. You guys are probably used to that, but for the topic we're going to dive into, I'm being serious as a friend and a fan. Joey has become an expert on this topic. He is asked by churches around the country, universities, groups, organizations to speak to this topic specifically. So I did want to give him his props on this and create the credibility that hopefully you may have thought you needed. But this is a big boy topic. It is real. It is happening in all the world around us, and I am so excited to engage with you on it and also take all my notes on it too, because I love it when you speak to this and you're great at it. Joey, kick us off on this topic, man. Let's go.
We're talking tech today. We are, this is, I believe, one of the biggest practical things that parents, that families are thinking about is technology and our relationship to it. We're going to talk a lot about relationships today, and we're going to talk about tech. And here's what's going to happen. You're going to walk away with very, very practical things that you can do today. You're going to walk away very hopeful, knowing that, oh yeah, I thought this was a monster, and yeah, it's big, but I actually have confidence that I can do something about it. Because Chris, I co-founded a business with Heath Wilson called RO that was all on changing our relationship with technology. And I was in it for years, and I emerged from it feeling the same way I felt the first day, which is this is the most hopeful opportunity any of us have today. Don't listen to the negativity. Is it easy to get freaked out to think about AI sex robots? Yes, but that's probably not impacting your home today. So this is, what do you do today? And so you're going to walk away with hope and confidence and very, very practical tools. So that's my promise to you. Just stick around for the next 40 minutes or so. Does that sound good?
Man, I love that there is hope and promise on this. And I'm glad you went there, because there is so much weird, odd, I don't know what to think, negativity. We're making stuff up, so
yeah.
You getting practical on this and giving us tools and giving us hope is a big thing, because tech is this entity that everybody's trying to figure out and invest in and mitigate and all the different things. So take us away, big guy.
Because the question is, what do I do? That's the ultimate question we need to ask. So, I'll kick off with a story from a few years ago, 2013, fall of 2013, and my son Harrison, Harrison, one of your favorite guys in the world, 18-year-old stud now. But man, when he was 5 years old in 2013, he's playing his very first soccer season. And Harrison's the dude. He's the greatest guy in the world. And when he was 5, he was the sweetest kid in the world. But I will tell you something. If you ever watch 5-year-old soccer, sweet kids aren't scoring goals. So it's those aggressive, like Chris Hart, aka circa 1985. You know what I mean? Like those
it's
aggressive
herding cats, anyways. But then there's a couple ballers out there, and everybody else is just chasing grass,
just bulldozing folks. So this season, Harrison's sweet kid. At this point in the season, everybody on the team had scored a goal except for Harrison. So here we are, another Saturday afternoon. Kristen and I go out. Gianna's with us. We go sit on the sidelines for another hour of youth soccer. And late in the first half, Chris, in the middle of the ordinary, something extraordinary happened. Harrison found himself standing in front of the ball with a goal in his sights. And something happened, and I'll be a little bit dramatic, but it's totally true. What happened next changed me as a father. Is that Harrison reared back that little leg, and he kicked. And just as you're listening to the story, you can imagine it like I do, just like a slow motion scene of a movie, dramatic music in the background, the ball gliding over the grass into the back of the net for Harrison's first soccer goal. And bro, the crowd went wild. I mean, these sweet parents knew exactly what had just happened. His coach runs out on the field. He lifts Harrison up, and there was this little split second in between the ball hitting the back of the net and his coach picking him up. When Harrison did something that 5-year-old boys do, is he looked to the sidelines, right? To lock eyes with me, to share this moment with dad, to see all the pride on my face, smile on my face, and to share this magical moment together. And it was absolutely magical, except for one little detail, and it's that I missed it. Every bit of what I just described, I completely missed. See, when Harrison turned to the sidelines to see the pride on my face, all he saw was the top of my head because I was looking down at my phone. So I missed that moment looking at my phone. And I had this realization at the moment that something was wrong, that my relationship with my phone was getting in the way of my most important relationships. And I would maybe summarize it this way as we kick off and we're going to talk about phones and AI a little bit here today, but specific to my phone, if we think about the relationship we have with our phones, and I would say the problem that I think all of us face is that our least valuable relationship, I think we would agree, the least valuable relationship we have in our lives is our relationship with phones and technology. But our least valuable relationship has the greatest impact on our most valuable relationships. So there's the gut punch, but the good news is that we can edit that relationship. So when you think about that, I'm curious for you, Chris, like we think about technology and relationships, and you're such a relational guy. When you think about that for yourself or for others, how does that ring true to you, that our least valuable relationship has the greatest impact on our most valuable relationships?
Oh, I'm just sitting here convicted like a chump. I'm thinking about the moments where my sweet daughter's voices have said, "Dad, are
Mm.
you paying attention?" Or
Mm.
"Dad," they say it multiple times. "Oh, Dad, hey, look over here. Oh, Dad," like politely entertaining my distraction.
Mm.
So, yeah,
Wow.
I'm here, and I am shocked, and I'm excited, I guess, 'cause I am feeling the conviction and personally need help. I've focused on it at times. It's kinda maybe how I'm processing it right now. There have been so many times we've done a certain Instagram fast, or I'm only gonna check email for a certain amount of time, and, things like that, but to really say, "Okay, let's get this right.
Mm.
Let's not let this thing." I do have a relationship with it. I need to put it in its proper place so that the proper relationships can be the actual singular
Yeah.
priority.
Yeah.
I'm fascinated, I think, with everybody else on really how to do this well, and
Mm.
then I love the idea of the fruit that I know is gonna come from it.
Well, what's interesting, I've heard in the course of the last seven years, heard hundreds of stories of people saying similar to what you said, that thing that your kid just the daddy watch me, the mommy watch me moments, where kids say it again and again and again. And for somebody, again, I want to really be specific about dispelling any shame here from that, because if your kid, if you've ever heard that, if you've had your child say to you, "Daddy, watch me," or even "Mommy, you're on your phone too much," "Mom, Dad, you're on your phone too much." If you ever heard that, I want to give you some encouragement that that's actually some good news, because it means two things. Here's what it means. First thing it means is that your child likes you. Your child wants you to look at them. So that's good. Like, we like that. The second part is your child believes that they are worth being looked at. They believe they have enough value inside that's worth your eyes being on them. And they have not yet become conditioned to believe that your phone is more important than they are. They still think that they are more important than your phone. So celebrate that moment, and then it's like, okay, now what do I do? Don't just let shame sit in there,
That's
because
good.
shame takes a mistake from the past and tells you about a future that hasn't happened yet. It said, you messed this up, so you've messed your kids up. Hold on one second. Like, no, my kid's future isn't written yet, so I'm going to do something about it now. And it goes back, Chris, it goes back to relationship. It goes back to the fact that we have said very casually in this conversation already, we've talked about our relationship with phones. And hold on a second. I just described something that for however long humanity has been around has been reserved for living objects, living things like animals or humans, or maybe even plants. If you talk to your plants, I hear that's good for gardening. But we've talked about something, a relationship with something living, that a relationship is between two living things. And now we're describing a relationship with an object.
Yeah.
And so this is a very odd thing that's happened. I don't really know when it entered our lexicon that we started talking about relationships with objects. And so the interesting thing about this is, when you look at it, yes, that's weird for adults to have relationships with objects. Like, I don't have a relationship with my lawnmower, right? When a conversation gets boring, I don't sneak out for a quick mow like I do with humans, right? They're like I do with my phone. So That is weird, but what it's actually done, it's reverted us back to a childlike state of relationship with objects, because kids have relationships with objects. Infants have relationships with objects, things like blankies and binkies and teddy bears. So what they do, what those are called comfort objects. They have a very good role in kids' lives. Those comfort objects give children a sense of comfort in the absence of relationships. So when their parents are gone, they cling to this object. So I think it's important within the context of our phones for us today is to recognize that what has happened in the last 18 or 19 years of having smartphones is that we've been reverted back to a childlike state of relationship with an object, but slightly differently. You see, children, they cling to that object in the absence of relationships, and we cling to this object in the presence of relationships. That we will be around people that we love. You think about infertility journeys that people have gone on just to have kids, and all of a sudden we find ourselves looking at a screen instead of their eyes when we're at the dinner table. This is a problem, and it is all defined to make this super simple. The defining characteristic in our relationship with our phones, specifically speaking about phones right now, is our constant proximity to them. And this is as basic as you get. This is why it's so hopeful, because there are some tiny edits here. 91% of us have our phones with us 24 hours a day. Because of that, we constantly interact with them. 89% of our smartphone usage is self-initiated. So turn off your notifications if you want, but you only got rid of about 11% there. So it's us only because they're with us. And when we begin to remove those, we begin to change the relationship with our phones by changing the proximity we are in with our phones. All of a sudden, we begin to reshape that relationship. So I'm curious about that. With this, as you think about maybe your phone usage, you maybe think about people around you, how much of that is in that environment where it's just like, yeah, it's just kind of with me, so I glance at it. Maybe even the examples you use with your daughters. Like, how has that shown up for you when you think about that proximity being the defining characteristic in your relationship?
Oh, I think about everything we probably think is critical or important. So I immediately
Mm,
think about conversations we've had of I need to be ready to respond because what if this is the deal, right? That
yes.
that one could become so. I know it's 8 o'clock at night, but it'd be great if I responded right away, right? And I think
Mm,
about even in the silly stuff because we're so used to it because the proximity's there. Any second that we're not being stimulated by something else,
huh.
and when we are. Think about the number of times you're watching a movie and on your phone and somebody's talking to you, and so it's this multi-stimulant that we're just okay with now.
Yeah.
And really, Joey, where I initially thought, I'm like, "Wait, a massive tactic of the devil in
Mm,
every generation is simply distraction."
that's it.
And so, I don't wanna get us off track here, but I remember somebody saying, "America changed when we got indoor air conditioning."
Mm,
Because people used to sit out on their porches and interact with the neighborhood.
wow.
Well, now we can go inside because it's comfortable, and now we can listen to the radio,
Hmm.
right? And then radio turned to TV and then TV, right? So it's just interesting, like, this is not a new thing.
That's right.
However, I do think it's maybe a more intense or constant thing
That's right.
that we're battling. So that's kinda where I went with that. It's like, hey, distraction has always been the tactic, and all of a sudden now in the 2000s, man, the potential for it is probably exponentially higher because the distraction is literally on us. Our pockets are made to constantly carry it and then keep it by our head while we sleep.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
is amazing that it's just so prevalent, but that's kinda where we're so and if he can limit our focus, then we could limit our authority.
Mm.
We could go far off on that, but it's like, okay, now the tactic makes sense, and this is what we've gotta fix.
You think about The Usual Suspects, which is a great movie. He says the greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing people he didn't exist. So here's my suspicion, Chris. If you were tempted today with murder or adultery, that's probably a quick no from you, right? It's pretty easy for you to say no to. But what maybe it's not is that just that tiny little distraction that can take you off course. So it makes you think about someone who tempts us, and you think about the devil who wants to tempt us. He doesn't have to work that hard anymore because it just takes a little bit of temptation, a little bit of distraction to get us away, and then you change 1 degree in a journey, and then 1,000 miles later, you're 100 miles off. So For me, this to your point, and to your point, the fact that it's not new. This quote that a lot of us know from the 16th century, Blaise Pascal said, "All of humanity's problems stem from man's inability to sit quietly in a room alone." My guy said it in the 16th century, bro. Like,
Seemed like there would have been a lot of alone sitting time by candle or something, like, that's all I picture them doing then, but
right.
apparently
Yeah, we are. And by the way, like for people listening, of course we're looking at our phones. They're awesome. This may be a hot take, and I love my kids. My phone's a lot more interesting than them. It's a lot more interesting than them talking about the mundanity of their day. Of course, that's a lot
consistently
more.
funnier. You get in the right algorithm, boy, you can lose
Come on,
2 good hours on really funny stuff.
it's hilarious. Yes, I mean it
Rope
is
swing
it's
fails at your fingertip. Are you kidding me?
That's right. And so here's what happens. I mean, we all know this. What we do, like a really interesting principle. What the reason why we find ourselves on our phones, it really is these moments to escape.
Yeah.
We're escaping these feelings that we have. We may feel lonely. We may feel even just bored, and so we turn to that. And so what it's doing, it's impacting our ability to feel deeply. And so we because we're escaping these moments. Now AI, just to touch on that really quickly, what's interesting about AI is the proximity is not the issues. What's for that is the interaction that it's creating for you. And what that's doing, Jonathan Haidt, many of you have heard of. Jonathan Haidt wrote The Anxious Generation. He has a TED Talk from April of 2026 that is incredible, talking about AI and how we should begin to be managing some of this. But a term that he mentions that's not original to him, I don't believe, is this idea of cognitive offloading, which is a great term. Is we're offloading our need to think. And so you think about kids, and that's one thing for you and me in our 40s. That's another thing for a kid who all they've ever known is not really having to think deeply, because the greatest thinker that's ever been around is sitting on ChatGPT or Claude. So when you think about what's really happening here, is that our phones have diminished our ability to feel deeply, and AI has diminished our ability to think deeply. And to me, bro, like, that's who I want to be. Man, Joey, man, he's a deep thinker. I mean, I told you on another episode, one of my favorite things is how I feel deeply. And so we are offloading these things in the name of convenience. And I'm not a Luddite. I have an iPhone. I have a subscription to Claude. So I'm not suggesting any of those things. But what is important to be aware is the impact that it's happening on ability on those couple things that make us uniquely human.
Wow. My mom's a 40-year educator, and we've had many a conversations just about this. And there are some
Hmm.
fascinating alpha schools and AI-focused ways of learning and processing. But at the end of the day, it is interesting. Like, the reason you do trigonometry is not because you'll ever use it. It's because we're teaching you how to think. And in other
Mm.
subjects, we're teaching you how to study. We're teaching you how to learn something and retain it so that you can use it. And you can make the case. It's like, why would I need to memorize anything?
Yeah.
I just say out loud, what is this? I don't need any brain power for it. But you talk about a slippery slope of not having to process, not having to figure things out, so then not being able to. And then if you add to that, Joey, the human component of feeling, you
Hmm.
know what I mean? And actually having to process and deal with emotion, if that is removed, that is the essence of our humanity, is feeling things and experiencing things and then
Yeah.
verbalizing those things, learning from those things, going forward faster because of it, so it is I love how you're
Yeah.
presenting this, and it's not just a, "Man, phones are bad." It's like, "No, this
That's
is
right.
the result of it. Here's some symptoms," and then I'm pretty optimistic about. I love that you actually said, "Man, I have an iPhone and I use Claude." That's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is not move to the hills conversation, but I like where we're going with it. Let's protect our humanity and then create some guardrails within that.
Yeah. That's right. And here's the thing is that some people may walk away from this and say, I actually might need a flip phone. I'm not in any way suggesting it, but you know yourself, And here's what we know is that the stakes really are so high that this isn't something that we should just accept as happening and it's inevitable. We just can't do that. That's not the way I want to live. It's not the way you want to live. If you're listening to this podcast, it's probably not the way you want to live either. So let's not accept what others are saying is inevitable. Let's think about our families. Let's think about what is at stake here. You mentioned our kids having experiences. Well, you want to talk about what's at stake is that if you don't do something in your home, if you don't do something, this generation of kids doom scrolling on their phones, they could be the first generation of kids who will someday die with more of other people's memories than memories they create on their own. So that's what's at stake, is the future that we're creating for our kids by what we are doing today. I will talk maybe even a little bit more about what's at stake here. I watched Stranger Things. Did you watch Stranger Things?
I watched the first season. It was strange, odd.
Yes.
And, yeah, where are you going to Stranger Things?
It got real strange near the end. So it's if anybody's watched it, near the end, there's a monster, this terrifying monster named Vecna. I mean, it's everything that was in our nightmares when we were growing up in the 80s, Chris. This is terrible, terrifying. And here's what Vecna was. Vecna was a monster who kidnapped kids and put them in bondage. But the kids went willingly to Vecna. Okay, so stay with me here. Why would children walk to a monster, willingly go to Vecna? Well, it's because Vecna had a front man. His front man was this handsome guy named Mr. Whatsit. Mr. Whatsit was this young guy, handsome guy in a suit. And here's what he would do. He would approach a child. He would isolate them from the pack. He would isolate them from the group of people, and then he would make promises to them. And before long, they realized that Mr. Whatsit was actually a monster and they were in bondage and there was nothing they could do about it. And so you think about this idea of isolation. You think about the idea of isolation for kids. Mr. Whatsit had a song, or Mr. Whatsit had a theme song, and it was that song, Mr. Sandman. Have you heard that song, Mr. Sandman? And when you read the lyrics to that and you think about this with respect to our technology, it's chilling. It says, Mr. Sandman, I'm so alone. Don't have nobody to call my own. Please turn on your magic beam. Mr. Sandman, bring me a dream. So think about those lyrics now. Think about a 12-year-old who maybe feels a little bit lonely, a little bit isolated. And again, Mr. Whatsit would isolate them from the pack. They would make them feel alone. So there you go. Mr. Sandman, I'm so alone. Don't have nobody to call my own. So what does a child do? They get lonely and they go and isolate themselves. They go sit in a dark room. They pull away from friends, family, and they sit in that dark room. And what do? They turn to a phone to escape that loneliness. And how about that line in the movie, that song from the 60s? It says, please turn on your magic beam. So a 12-year-old child sitting in a dark room all alone with this magic beam from their phone shining on their face, pulling them deeper and deeper and deeper into isolation. The promise of our phones is connection, but that promise has been broken, and we know that we're not going to find connection in those phones. We're going to have a magic beam that shines on our face that pulls us deeper into loneliness and isolation. How many times has anybody felt lonely or bored trying to escape that feeling of loneliness by turning to our phones, and we feel even more lonely at the end of it than when we started? So this is, and I said at the beginning this was hopeful. It is hopeful, but we have to recognize these are the stakes right now, is that we will find ourselves in a place where we're lonely, we're isolated, we're being pulled away, we're turning to that instead of to the people around us that God's given us to have relationships with. So for me, I think that's important for us to say, here's what's at stake, and now we can do something about it. So before we turn into that positivity, how does that grab you?
Let me be negative just for a little bit longer, and then we'll cheer everybody up.
Come on, son, let's do it.
Now, I just think about that idea of isolation, Joey. I mean, we see it in the animal kingdom. You've got a pack that is safe and secure and healthy and can resist terrible predators unless that animal gets isolated. And that's what a predator is always trying to do, is create that isolation. So I thought that was such a great point. And that's what your phone's doing. And so, but then, man, when you said it's the promise of connection, it's an unmet, unfulfilled promise. So that means it's a lie, right?
Yeah.
The devil is the father of lies. And then you also think about, to your point of what's what's at stake. I think every day in our lives, we just have to ask that question, what's on the line?
Yeah.
And if we'll actually filter our lives through that, it's amazing what actually happens. Like, oh, that's what's on. Oh, my marriage is on the line. Oh, my purity is on the line. Oh, exposure to something that I should not see is on the line, right? So
Mm,
if we'll filter this through that, now we can actually kinda get to this hope side of things, like, I know what's on the
yeah.
line, so of course, that's my why. Of course, I'm willing to do something about it. Of course, I'll resist the isolation because I know where that leads to, and now we can really start making some progress in the right direction, and I believe where we're about to go changes a generation, which is pretty exciting.
That's right. Absolutely. I totally agree with that. And it would be as if, and again, one reason I think why it's important to name it at the outset here, to name what's at stake, maybe feel a little bit negative is, and again, being able to hold in the same hand that it's still hopeful is if you had this illness and you were plagued with an illness for years and years and years and years, and it was eating away at you, and then someday someone said, I know exactly what that is. I have a name for it and I know how to cure it. That would be a good day, not a bad day. And so that's really what we're talking about here is we've actually gone for 19 years when it's been around, smartphones have been around for about 19 years. Social media has been prevalent in a lot of that time. 2 years ago when Jonathan Haidt released, 2 or 3 years ago, when he released The Anxious Generation, we had already felt this. We had already felt societally that something didn't quite feel right. And then we had data. And this data was absolutely certain that adolescent loneliness, anxiety, depression were through the roof. It's all tied to phones and social media. So it's all tied to that. So we have a name for that sickness. And that's what's so hopeful about this is that, okay, now I know what it is. I know what's been plaguing us. So now we can do something about it. So that's really the transition here into that is this is great news because we can do something. And here's what's cool for the competitive side. You think about you, Chris, we're always looking for an edge. So how can I give my family an unfair advantage? How can I give my marriage an unfair advantage? How can I give my kids an unfair advantage? Who doesn't want that, right?
All we wanna do is win. Right? So if you can show me an unfair advantage on how to get out in front of something, man, I'll take that all day. And man, I love where you're going with putting a name on this because I'll go spiritual with it.
Hmm.
Man, that name of Jesus is above every other name. So all that is ever going to be required is identifying the name, and then we're going to put God above it. We're going to
Yeah,
get real practical on how to do that. But it's like, hey, we have a name for it. Now we can actually do something about it and put our authority in its place.
that's right. Absolutely. The promise I will make, and I want to take this, I want to keep pulling this back to relationship because that's really what this is about. Is this promise that when you change your relationship with technology, you will change your relationship with everyone around you. That's the promise. You begin to change that. We said it at the beginning. Our least valuable relationship has the greatest impact on our most valuable relationships. So here's how we begin to preserve that. I think the very first step, Chris, and we'll just start diving in very practically, is that you always have to. And this is, by the way, everybody here. Here's what people want to do. They want to go. They come to a parent workshop, or they just want to hear how to change their kids. Here's the truth. Here's the truth. You have to start with yourself. Have to. You have to look in the mirror and start with yourself because we always want to talk about somebody else. But when you think about it, I think about this with parenting specifically. Think about this trap we've gotten into. I call this the 3M parent trap. Is that what we've done over the last 19 years as smartphones have come out is that we as parents, we have modeled a bad relationship with our phones. So when I say that's the first M is model, is that we have our phones at the dinner table or we phone snub our kids in the middle of conversations. We're modeling this bad relationship with our phones. Then we give our kids a phone someday and they do something very unsurprising. Second M, they just mimic what we model. This is normal to them. This is how they think that phones are supposed to be. Even if we rationalize with them, no, I need it for work, whatever it is, they're just going to mimic what we have modeled to them. But then we do something crazy with this third M, is that we have the audacity to get mad at our kids for mimicking what we modeled. It's craziness.
Great point. Yes.
It's so true. And here's the good and the bad news is that our kids are going to mimic what we model. So we have to ask ourselves a question. Am I modeling? This is the question for all of us. You're not going to want to ask this, but please do. Just even say it out loud. Pause it and say it out loud. Am I modeling a relationship with my phone that I want my kids to someday mimic? Because the data will tell us this. Studies tell us this. The number one predictor of how your child will use a phone someday is how you use your phone today. So it always has to begin with yourself.
Which is a principle for everything.
Everything.
And I don't know that I would have or most people would have immediately associated that with phone usage, right?
Mm,
Because we're thinking everything I'm doing is somewhat necessary. I'm
yeah.
on it constantly. We use it for
Yeah.
directions, and then I'm gonna respond to an email, and then, all the stuff. So, I love that idea of the actual responsibility and ownership. And I'm telling you, hopefully everybody's laughing like I am. It's like, now I have the audacity to get mad because you're doing exactly what I do. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like when you hear your kid like say a cuss word and they're like, you say that. That's your word. You know what I mean? No. You taught me how to interact with this device, and now you're
Yeah.
frustrated that I'm doing what you do. What a great
Yes.
call out.
And here again, here's the hope too. Your kid's 17, you think they're too far gone. I just refuse to act like that. Did you maybe model this as, again, shame creeps in here and it says like, oh, you were so bad, you modeled such a bad relationship. Okay, fine. We didn't know all the stuff we know now. We actually didn't know a lot of this stuff we know now. So let's start to thinking about what's my next best step here. Maybe your impact on your child's going to be a little bit smaller if they're 17 or 18, but you still have impact.
Yep.
You can still model this well. So especially, I say this for dads a lot too, like just begin for the next 30 days. Please don't mandate. I believe, Chris, you can't mandate what you haven't modeled. So you got to model before you mandate. So let's just 30 days. Let's just begin as a principle. Am I modeling a relationship with my phone that I want others to mimic? It will begin to change things. It's not super fun. You may get a little self-righteous if you get good at it. Resist that urge. But for you, this is really, really important. Again, even to the point of like, when you said it earlier, when was the last time we watched a family movie without a second screen? Just, is this what I want for my kids someday? And it's a lot easier when we think about the impact on our kids' future. The other thing, Chris, we saw when we had the tech business, we had the solution for us. It was for families, and the number one reason that people didn't sustain good habits was misalignment with their spouse. Again, principle for everything, but and I'm going to call out the dads here. It was generally 90% moms saying, I couldn't get my husband on board with it,
Is that right?
which is really sad to me. It was just, I just thought about the dad there. You would bring this solution in your home. There was a box, you'd put your phone in. And I thought about it, like, your wife is crying out to you for closeness and intimacy. She is doing her best because she wants your eyes fixed on hers. She wants you looking at your kids when you talk to them. She doesn't want you phone stuffing. You want intimacy and closeness, and we all ultimately want it, but who's going to be willing to actually take those steps to do it? And so I just can't emphasize this enough. Please, if you're listening, please share this with your spouse, just to have a conversation, even to find the lowest common denominator. You may legitimately need your phone 24 hours a day when you're for work. You might, but maybe you can spare 25 minutes for dinner, maybe, or maybe on the next date night. And I'll give a good date night tip here in a minute, but maybe you can just, for the date night, maybe you don't need it. But I believe this alignment with your spouse is so important. And even for those, maybe if you're divorced, this is worth aligning with your ex-spouse for the sake of your kids, because of how darn important it is to give them that edge.
Yeah. Well, we say it, the alignment leads to assignment, right? And
Yeah.
so if the assignment is connectivity, if the assignment is intimacy with your family, if the assignment is leading well and showing the way, then it makes the case for alignment, right?
Mm,
So I like that a
yes.
lot. If you were going to go like real practical on this one, I'm going to ask you to kind of, dig in here just a little bit. Or are you saying, man, at night, this is our standard, and we've kind of like saying it out loud from 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock, it's a phone free zone? Is it,
Yeah.
hey, husband and wife, when we get in bed, man, it's just no phones once we hit the bed? Like, maybe speak to that just a little bit. Like,
Yes.
what does alignment really look like, or what are some practical ways to start?
In the home, I would recommend this. And this is a culture changer in your home. So if you take what I'm about to say seriously, it will change the culture of your home. And it's a concept of identifying sacred times and sacred places that are phone free. sacred times, sacred places. This is something that I would say starting in your home. It can be outside of the home too. It could be, hey, at, whatever, we're on date nights, and I'll give some date night stuff too. But in your home, let's think about sacred times. Like your sacred time, what if it were your kid's bedtime? What if when it's bedtime, they just know, hey, it's dad's phone. Dad's never on his phone. I have horror stories that I look back with embarrassment of reading to Harrison when he was little, and I'm literally looking at my phone. I remember Chris, he said out loud, he said, "Oh, Dad, this is my favorite page. Let's do this page, and then you can look at your phone again." I'm just like, oh, the sweet little boy, like he's just conditioned.
Sweetest kid ever, just trying to help
kid ever. just yeah, exactly. And so what if though, like what if your child never saw you on your phone during story time? That'd be kind of cool. So thinking about these times, it could literally be 6 to 7, like you said. It could be family movie night as a sacred time. Sacred places. And you think about sacred places, dinner table's the easiest. Hey, just this is sacred. If you think about sacred, like say anything that's sacred is something that's common that someone has said is sacred. You have the ability to call something sacred. And so beginning with dinner time, your child's bedroom, maybe it's the phone in your master bedroom. I'm sorry, maybe the bed in your master bedroom. That could be a sacred place for you. But the cool thing about it here is, and I want to be prescriptive, but I want to leave some room for you here, is that you get to decide this. Is that you get to decide, and it just begins with a simple question, which is just to everybody in your family: when am I on my phone and when I shouldn't be?
Man, that's a great question.
And here's what's tough, bro, is like the humility to hear it. You got to be, this is why I've noticed when we get defensive, it's normally because we're slightly in the wrong. So if you feel some defensiveness rise up, that's probably a cue that maybe I'm in the wrong here. But you get to have this decision, this conversation. And the thing I encourage of people is please, please, please don't have 5 sacred times and 5 sacred places. Unsustainable. Let's 20-mile march this sucker just like we do everything else in our life. Let's take a little bit of ground for the next 30 days. 1 sacred time, 1 sacred place. And it begins with the conversation.
Well, and when you said sacred, I just thought it's something that you decide to protect. And we can look that up. Maybe that's an inappropriate definition. I think it works here, right? Like I'm deciding to protect the dinner table because I know the fruit that can come from it.
Yes.
We're deciding to protect the bed. We're deciding to protect. I mean, and honestly, I love the idea of looking forward. My kids will be in college in 5 years. What if that's a story that they're telling is I just knew when we got to the table, that was a safe place. Yes. And just maybe they mimic that. And when they go to the cafeteria at college, it's like, hey, what if we just don't have our phones out here and let's just have a great meal together?
Yes.
You think about the progressive effect of this, but if nothing else, it's the memory, because they're going to have to deal with it. And our family is going to know the sacrifice that we made or just the effort that we did. This is worth protecting. You're worth protecting. You talk about adding value to people by simply recognizing these moments of creating a sacred place or sacred time.
So think about this, to play that out for you. Think about between the two of us, there are 4 daughters in the mix there and 2 sons in between us. So let's just think about the standard that it sets for our children. Let's think about when they go on a date someday and they think about the person. Let's say one of our daughters goes out on a date with a boy who's on his phone and he's looking at his phone. She's going to know that feels wrong because she's had that example set for her that she knows, no. When I'm across the table from someone of the opposite sex, I'm worth them looking at.
Great.
I am valuable enough. So the standard has been set for them. They're not conditioned to believe that phones are more important than people. And Gianna knows, if Gianna knows exactly what to do in that case. You know what she does? You go order surf and turf, let him pay, never go out with him again, right? Like that's the move. You order the most expensive thing because you're worth it. So we're setting a template for our kids. And by the way, guys, we all know this, our daughters will expect the kind of treatment that we gave to our wives. They're watching it. Am I answering my wife gently? Am I giving her attention? Because, bro, here's what happens. When you say, I think the 6 most powerful words in the English language in a relationship right now is let me put down my phone. Like if let's imagine the same scenario that you played out right at the very beginning. If Cooper said to you, "Hey Dad, look at," "Hey Dad, look," and you said, "Cooper, let me put down my phone," and you physically put your phone somewhere else, set it down, and then you locked eyes with her. What you just did for her is you told her you are valuable, that you're so much more important than this thing. That, Cooper, there are 6 billion people on earth who can reach me on my phone theoretically, and right now you're more important than every single one of them. So that we have this opportunity. This is why I say it's so hopeful. This is available to us every single day. This moment, a moment like that every single day, and I will promise you this, our kids and our spouses will never get tired of our attention being on them, ever. So available to us every single day. So all the way back to that practical thing, that sacred time, sacred places, it begins with that conversation. Here's what's cool about it. Is you say, "Hey, Thursday night, can I take you out on a date? I got something. Listen to this podcast real quick. Can we go out on a date and talk about this?" And then this is the little date night hack that I love. This is the date night phone swap. If you have kids who are young, maybe the babysitter's with them, you need to be reachable on your phone. Totally get it. So what you do when you sit down is you just do a swap of phones with your spouse. And you're available, but you're not going to doom scroll their phones, and then you're locked in with that person. So that's a bunch there, but reflect on any of that for me.
Well, what we always want to be about is killing excuses.
Yes.
And I really like where you just went because, and I've said this plenty of times, I need to be available to be reached. I want to be that friend. I want to be that parent. I want to be that spouse. You know what I mean? Like if
Yeah.
Molly needs something, if she's stuck on the side of the road, right? So I think that's the excuse that becomes real handy just to have it in my head. So it's like, well, Molly might call, and I'm looking at every sports feed that I can get my hands on,
Yeah.
and those hilarious clips. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
I think that's a reality. So you just killed a huge excuse. I like the idea of, at a bro lunch, you just hand the guy your phone. So if my
Yeah.
wife needs me, that might buzz. See if it's her. If it's not, that the business deal can wait till 1 o'clock.
Yeah.
So if we can just begin to just kill the excuse, all of society has bought into this excuse. So it's a really good one. Like
Yes.
we can really wrap our head around it, and we could get away with it forever. Because now it's just how we live. This is the norm of life. And so unless we look at it like it's something that we can do something about, and it's something that we can, that's what I like what you said. We can do this right now. This is
Yes.
the hope, is right now. But we do have to be the kind of people that don't give in to what absolutely everybody else says is okay, and set a new standard. And you know this. If we will, it's going to be so attractive. It's so helpful. There's so much fruit that comes from living this way. I'm
Yeah.
telling you, it really can become an epidemic in a very good way, but we can do it right here, right now.
And in addition to this being the most hopeful opportunity I think we have, I'm also more convinced than ever that it's not going to happen in mass. I don't think 90% of people are going to adopt this. So if you're listening to this, here's the question for you. Are you a 1%er or not? Are you the type of person who goes to the lengths to do things that are going to give you and your family an unfair advantage? Because we can't wait on the politicians for it. We can't wait on the school board for it. This has to be in your home. Who are we? We had a great episode on vision. Cast a vision for your family. Who are we? And then, do we have a rule of life? Do we have a terrace within our home on what's sacred in our home? And then are we able to go accomplish that vision? Because not everybody's going to do it. Are you surrounding yourself with friends who you're aligned on saying together, "Hey, the studies say you probably shouldn't give a kid a phone until 8th grade. Side note, we didn't do this as a family. That data is still coming out for us, so no shame if you didn't get that one right. But for you who say, are you surrounded with people who are going to say, "Hey, I'm aligned with you, and we're going to do this together because our families are 1% families, and I want an unfair advantage in my marriage and for my kids and in all of our relationships."
Come on. Man, if that's not a happy, healthy call out, I don't know. Of course, I want to be a 1%er. Of course, we want to be the
Yeah.
very best we can for the things that matter most.
Yeah.
Okay, so you know how we roll, Joey.
Come on.
We want to be brave, and we want to live big. You covered so much good. Like that was a legitimate masterclass, and I really appreciate you sharing your expertise on it. So now, if we're going to put this in the framework of the next 7 days, to live this kind of life, to be brave and live big, it all comes down to the next small step. What are we doing in the next 7 days to start down this process of living healthy, fulfilled lives when it comes to tech?
The defining characteristic in our relationship with our phones is our constant proximity to them. So here's what you do the next 7 days. I want you to physically spend 20 minutes every day physically distant from your phone. 20 minutes a day physically distant. It can't be in your line of sight, can't be on your body. 20 minutes a day. I want you to eventually, the long term here, by the way, is 2 hours a day and that can be broken up throughout the day. It can be broken up into certain parts throughout the day, 20 minutes in the morning, 40 minutes a night, an hour throughout the day, whatever it is. And here's why, is that 2 hours a day, if you spent 2 hours a day physically distant from your phone, you would reclaim 1 month out of your year. So we live in a culture that says, I don't have enough time, and you just had a 13-month year by making that edit. But it has to begin. Think of this as a muscle. You're building a muscle. So let's not start 2 hours tomorrow. Let's start 20 minutes. 20 minutes. Model it, model it, model it, model it, model it. Keep modeling it. Then all of a sudden you'll find yourself, your relationships are changing. You'll find the culture in your home begins to change as you start with that small step, which is physical distance. The most basic thing that is so available to every one of us is that 20 minutes. And then one maybe hack to do that is not 20 minutes. Now what do I do? It's more, hey, it's quiet time. I'm going to go spend time apart from my phone. Hey, we're going to watch a family show together. I'm going to put my phone away. We're going on a walk around the block. So start with the greater thing and then remove the distraction.
Come on. I'm going to do it. I'm going to change my whole life, Joey.
You probably won't. I doubt you will. You're probably not strong enough.
Oh, do not call me and all the people out. We're going to do it this week. Well,
I mean, you're probably like a 3%er.
You don't call me a 3%er, Joseph. Come on. Man, thanks, man. This is so good. It's so practical. We can do it right here, right now. There is hope in this regard, and man, we're going to do something about it. I'm challenging everybody, man, take the step, live your life in these 7-day increments. Watch what happens. Let the fruit pile up. Be brave and live big. We got your back.
Okay, real quick. Triple S for us. Subscribe, share, star. Give us 5 stars wherever you listen to podcasts. Thank you so much for joining us this week on Brave and Big. Brave and Big is produced by Sonus Podcast and the brilliant Miles Albritton. We will see you next week.